speaker on the panel that I would like to introduce is Toni Ginyard. She's an Emmy Award-winning journalist and can be seen on the weekly morning news, Today in LA, and the 11 a.m. newscast. Ginyard is passionate about her role as a broadcast journalist and relishes on the opportunities she has to integrate with diverse communities throughout Los Angeles. Welcome, Toni.
Please don't mind if I stare you so much. I want to be with you. I want to see you. 25 years ago, I was working for NBC4. 25 years ago, I was working for KCAL. KCAL was a relatively new station. It just started in 1990. You do the math. You know when the LA riots happened. But just by virtue, the professor asked about the media. I'm going to talk about a variety of things from my perspective. I used to have dark hair. I don't have it anymore. That change, covering what some call the riots, the rebellion, the unrest, changed my world. It changed my perspective as a journalist. I have my own opinions, and then I have my professional opinions. There are things that stood out to me, and to answer your question, can we rise? Can we get along? Can we talk to each other? Well, we have to learn to talk to each other. What led up to that? It wasn't about that year, 25 years ago, that blacks and Latinos and Koreans and everything else we didn't cover those communities. They weren't covered long before 25 years ago. And that was part of the problem. We in the media have to take blame for that. You only go to cover something when it is negative. So you have communities who felt they don't care about us unless someone in this pool of us do something wrong. And that gives us an opportunity in the media to showcase that. But it's also about perspectives. You guys are great. But as you performed, I sat and thought, who would ever thought that young lady in the pink hoodie had that opinion? The only way I'm going to know is if I take time not to talk to you, but to listen to you. Led Zeppelin, never hear me listening to that. Okay? But the point is, I drew conclusions about you by reading what's across your shirt. Not sure what the M is for. Look at your mamas and daddies always told you, first impression is a lasting impression. And that's what we saw happen. We all had impressions about each other. When I went out, I love my producers, I love my news directors, but they stay in a building. I'm the one they say, go do this. They're looting this store. Go out there and find it. Because it wasn't like Asians were on fire. It was insane. It was insane. But I'm a better person for having been on the street. A couple of things that stood out to me. I didn't realize that I had perceptions about people and drew conclusions about people until I had a gun drawn on me. That was one of the nights, and I talk about the riots, the unrest as a whole, but this is a series of days and nights where you lost track of what day it was, what time it was. All you knew was the sun was up or the sun was down. Your lines of demarcation was, this is the day LAPD did nothing. This is the day the National Guard came in. This is the day we saw Korean merchants up on the rooftops with their long rifles to protect their stores. This is the day we saw signs that said black owned, where shop owners thought by putting that on there, that would protect them. It did not. It was about the relationship between the person who was running that shop, that store, and the community that that shop or store sat in that determined which businesses survived. The guy pulled the gun on us because we were shooting video of people looting stores. But what he didn't realize is he drew assumptions about us. Oh, you're going to give this to the police, get out of here. I drew assumptions until I saw what people were doing. One image that will never, ever leave my mind. Yes, there were the folks that some of our newscasters labeled thugs, animals, and hoodlums, pulling liquor out of stores, rolling down the street with big TVs. And you know they had no connection to the anger. They were just taking advantage of the situation. But what I noticed was the woman with a baby on her hip and a basket, a grocery cart filled with tampons, sanitary napkins, toilet paper. That to me, she didn't have to say anything to me. It told me what she was in need of. Essentials, basics. That's what we missed prior to 25 years ago. The Korean shop owners, grocery store clerks. After the riots, everybody talked about how we have cultural differences, that the shop owners throw our change down on the table and they won't place it in my hand because they don't want to touch this black hand. I thought about that. But then the flip side of it, what do we know about their culture and their customs? What do we do? I'm not talking black folks, I'm talking about people. What do we do that they don't find acceptable, but we don't know because we don't talk to each other when we offend somebody? 5 years ago, when we were talking about the big 20th anniversary, does anybody know who Henry Watson is?
He was one of the people that attacked Reginald Denny.
Bingo. And what do they call that? The LA Four.
Yes.
I ran into him maybe about 5 years ago. I was covering a story in South LA, and a man comes out of his house and he thinks we're bothering him. And it turns out that is where he lives, or was living, taking care of his mother. And we got to talk. He agreed to do an interview with me 5 years ago on the 20th. It was fascinating. There is nothing he can say or I can say to get any of you to understand the why behind anything 25 years ago. Because all of us have different realities. All of us have different lives. All of us have been exposed to different things. What I have learned in that period of time, and what I carry with me every day, is that I have to know when to shut up and just listen. Part of the conversation is not having someone tell you what you want to hear, but sometimes tell you what you don't want to hear. But it's their reality, and you got to appreciate that. Until we get to that point where we can do that, it's not going to happen. We will not rise up. We will not be able to live with each other. And it is not a melting pot in LA. Think about who you sit next to in class. Think about who you eat with at lunch. Think about who you party with at night. We aren't a melting pot. We haven't learned to do that yet. How many of you are over the age of 25? Yay, I don't feel so old. Thank you. I don't know if you remember anything, because you're still young. Do you remember it? Do you remember?
I remember watching like the verdict and all the tension.
But you knew the tension was there before then.
Yeah. But I just remember like we would really watch it.
But that's part of it. I find it difficult to watch today. I know I was there at Parker Center when they started burning. The other thing, and I'm going to stop here because I said I was not going to talk 15 minutes because I'm tired. The thing that also hit me, and people ask about takeaways, the looting, it was the simple things hit me. The other thing that was a game changer for me was I was on Pico and we would do a live shot and there was a little cutout in the building, and as soon as we finished, we go back and kind of hide because people would take pot shots at us, bricks, you know, shooting at us. So you hide and then you pop back out, you wouldn't turn a light on, you do your little live shot and then pop back in. And at one point this couple, and I call them the only couple in LA that actually was going to a grocery store and spending money when the rioting started because they realized they may have to, you know, shelter in place. They were in a convertible, driving through fires on both sides, in a convertible, little bags of groceries, and as they turned around the corner, because of the fires, the power lines, luckily they didn't hit one, and the telephone wires had fallen on, just draped across a huge intersection. As they came around, one of the telephone lines wrapped around the tire of the car and flipped the car right in front of us. She's bleeding, I think maybe a broken arm, he's bleeding, they're in shock, and I'm about to go live, and I watch as one police car goes by, pauses, looks, keeps going. Another and another. Then comes the fire department. The fire department, they're always there for you. They slowed down, looked, and kept going. That is the closest I've ever come to crying on TV in all of the years I've been doing this. And I remember saying to our audience, I know I'm not supposed to get emotionally involved. I know I'm not supposed to feel this way, but this is wrong. Will someone please help these people? Because in that moment, I realized that what would have stopped traffic and you would have been able to get in this block for hours was this big compared to everything else that was going on in the city. But my faith was restored when a white woman in a pickup truck who happened to be a nurse and a black guy in another car, I don't even remember what, within 5 minutes they came up, they loaded that couple in the flatbed of the truck and took them to the hospital. That proved to me, no matter what, when there is no law and order, because there was not any, there was none, that there are still people who have it in their hearts to do the right thing. And I carry that with me, and that's why I keep doing what I'm doing. The stories are never about me. I've learned that my job is to allow someone else to have a voice. And I love what I do. And I hope for you journalism students that you get that. It's not about me. It's about the people who no one's listening to.